The chair now recognizes Mr. Kinzinger for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. I think the best way to address climate change is by reducing not only our nation's carbon emissions, but that of the rest of the world. The changes pose both short and long-term challenges that I believe can be addressed in two major ways. First, we need diversity in our energy resources. Energy diversity is energy security. This is comparative to one's own personal investment strategies. When you're looking to invest, you don't put all your savings in one stock and let it ride. You diversify your investment into various funds. Similarly, this nation cannot afford to put all its eggs in one basket. Second, we need to support market-driven innovations to develop new clean energy technologies that will put the U.S. at the forefront of environmental technology. My district, the 16th district in Illinois, is a great example of what it can look like. My district, and really the whole state of Illinois, is home to a broad array of energy sources. Nuclear generators provide the most abundant, clean, and stable source on the planet, and my district's home to 4 nuclear generating stations, in addition to hundreds of wind turbines, solar powers, geothermal sources, and others. These diverse sources not only provide year-end reliable clean energy, but have produced high-paying jobs for my constituency. While some may say that the U.S. needs to be a leader on reducing emissions and combating climate change, I'd say that we actually already are. Since 2005, global emissions have increased by 20%, while the growth rate of United States emissions has decreased by more than the next 12 emission-reducing countries combined. It's going to take a major innovation and breakthroughs to not only reduce our emissions here at home, but also convey this ability to others around the world. All Americans want to be good stewards of their environment, and this desire drives markets. Tesla doesn't sell cars because of the sound system, and people don't put solar panels on their roof because they look good. It's just smart. So if there's one thing I noticed in each of the witnesses' testimonies, it's that everyone either strongly supports nuclear energy or at least recognizes that it's not reasonably possible to achieve emissions reductions goals in the near term without it. So Mr. Matheson, let me ask you, as you know, nuclear is an important source of baseload, zero-emission power for many co-ops. Would it be possible to continue making sustained emissions reductions if we don't maintain a strong nuclear fleet?
I think you can't do that, and I also think you have a reliability concern if you don't maintain that fleet as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mr. Baer, your testimony shows that you're resource planning for upwards of 40% renewable energy. Can you talk about how much wind you would have to bring online to replace the premature closure of a nuclear plant?
We haven't looked at it that way because they're not equivalent.
But it does produce X amount of power. So in theory, if you bring a plant offline, you have to bring, if you're going to one-on-one.
Depending upon where it is, maybe 1.5 to 2.
1.5 to 2.
So 2 megawatts for every one you retire.
Okay. And as you may be aware, Vistra Energy is slated to close 4 coal plants in Illinois by the end of the year. These include the Hennepin Power Plant, which is in my district, as well as plants in Coffeen, Havana, and Canton. It's my understanding that your organization, the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, and PJM must approve these closures based on an analysis of whether they are needed for grid reliability. Is that accurate, and can you explain further your role in this process?
So that's true. They submit a study to us or a request for us to study their retirement. We take a look at what the impact is from a reliability standpoint on the grid and render them a decision. If it has reliability consequences, we ask them to wait until we can build a transmission line to solve the problem.
And is that review currently underway, and how would closures like these affect reliability?
I can't answer your second question because we're studying it, and that review is underway.
Okay. Do you have a time frame on that by chance? If you can.
Probably 12 months.
Okay. Not only am I concerned about reliability, I'm concerned about 2 more things: job loss and stranded assets, or really wasted assets. This closure means scores of my constituents without jobs. It also means that we have a usable facility linked into the grid with no power being fed into it. So, Mr. Matheson, given the reliability concerns, job loss, and wasted asset factors, shouldn't there be some sort of arrangement to convert these facilities to solar or storage or some type of facility before forcing them offline?
I think you've got to think about all potential possibilities to mitigate the impact of stranded assets, and the ones those items you suggested shouldn't be on the list.
And do you see any need for policy changes on that front?
Look, I think that we haven't had federal policy that's for stranded assets this day, so I'm not sure there's a federal role in that, but I do think the consideration of workforce impacts and community impacts on plant closures is something that we should all care about.
Excellent. I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.